Okay, so welcome back to episode 29 of the Worst Reselling Podcast Ever. And hello, Granny. Hello, Blake. How are you both today?
Hi. I'm very well. Yourself, Octo?
Oh, I'm very well. It's quite a pleasant day here in the Bermuda Triangle. What's it like with you, Blake?
Yeah, it's all right actually. Not raining, but I was just looking at the sky. It's looking a bit dull out there, but I think we're okay today.
Yeah, it's warm here.
Well, that's good. Yeah, well, yeah, like I said, Granny, the Amish, the folk that you're surrounded by down in Donald, prefer it when it's warm. So it's good to see that Blake's eyes are open today, Granny. Like, I don't know, it looked like we didn't have to use the sticky tape to keep him awake.
It's don't get going for too long and I'll stay awake. We'll be all good.
Maybe he's been sneaking a Red Bull or something.
Yeah, it could be like he's got a little straw under his shirt. But I suppose before we go into it too much further today, Granny, we've created a podcast New Year's resolution. We're going to limit the episodes to an hour, and they're going to be a hard hour limit. So if we're halfway through a sentence, I'm going to cut it. I think we've got a culprit that actually, talks for too much. So, I can blame someone. So, anyway, before we go too much further into it, I have to do a channel membership shout out because I didn't realize I added that as an option. But, thank you to Soda City Flips. And I'll give a free shout out to his podcast, the Reselling Locker Room Podcast. And I said the Clickbait Podcast and give them a free shout out then. So like I said previously times, I've just got the channel memberships sitting there. I don't expect anyone to join them, so please don't join them. But the one that Soda City Flips is on, 20% or $1 gets donated to the Australian Maritime Preservation Team. So I can't exactly remember the name of the charity, but something along the lines of that. But before we get into today's topic, is there anything else you want to say, Granny? Did you want to say something about Blake, or we're right to get onto the topic?
No, I'm all good, I think.
No, that's good. Yeah, okay. Cool.
Yes.
I just noticed Blake's actually changed to Blake Gorfine opposed to actually officially Blake, which is unfortunate.
He's back to original Blake.
That's right. So, if you didn't catch the live the other day, Blake's in the process of rebranding. He, I suppose he wasn't too fond of our suggestion of being called the other guy because it's probably a little bit too generic for where he's probably trying to do. But if you want to know who this Blake, how do you pronounce it, Blake?
Gorfine. Gorfine. Yeah, that's
right.
how you
say
it.
I'm glad that you didn't pronounce it like you did the other day on the live. So anyway, before we waste any more time, the
Lithuanian version.
So what we're going to talk about today, Granny and Blake, is sell-through. So a lot of people are, jumping on and, if anything to go by on Facebook and all these different things, a lot of new resellers are jumping into the mix. So there's a lot of terminology and a lot of words being thrown around that they might necessarily be aware about or know what their existence are. We're going to talk a little bit about sell-through. We'll talk a little bit about what it is, how it can help or hurt your business, and some other channels that I've been watching in the last week or so that have actually mentioned it as well. Granny and Blake, correct me if I'm wrong, but really, from my stance, is that sell-through is pretty universal, right? So, like, you could pretty much be watching someone from the US market or the UK or Europe if that tickles your fancy from that perspective. And what they say is pretty much goes for us as well. Like, I wouldn't necessarily look into the products they're talking about. If they're saying, "Hey, look out for this specific bolo," or whatever it is in that. Bolo is a be on the lookout for. So something that people make
or a nolo.
A nolo, which is don't look for it. It's probably going to
not on the lookout for.
Yeah, and I suppose Nolo comes into the sell-through rate, how it comes and hurts you, I suppose, from that perspective as well. But
there's an F now if you're Australian.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. Yeah. So will we ever see Alice again? But I think that we'll talk a bit about the sell-through rate. So, Granny, I don't let you talk enough. So, do you have a nugget on sell-through yet?
I do. Actually, I've already done one. Yes, because surprisingly, I guess I was surprised that there are a lot of even existing resellers that actually didn't understand it and didn't know what it was. So I made a little nugget.
That's right. What about you, Blake? Does sell-through come into your equation when you're looking at buying, or?
Yeah, it does for sure. Yeah, I'm a bit more lenient with it than a lot of people are. Like, if it's like it could have like a 40-50% sell through. But what I'll do in that case, I'll look at the pricing and then I'll put myself at the lower end of that. Yeah. And if there's still margin at the lower end of that, then I'll pick it up.
Yeah. So
It's
I suppose,
probably not. Oh, sorry. It's probably not as important for me particularly with my books, because look, 90%, I'm going to say 99 probably % of my books are, when I list them as a long tail because they are antique or vintage books. So you've got to find that right buyer. So I'm not expecting them to have a fast sell through. There are some that do. Like if I find a James Bond book by Ian Fleming, particularly if it's a first edition, it's going to be gone within 24 hours. So that,
Yeah. So I'll try and do a little short about how to quickly look for sell through. Hopefully when this episode falls out. But so basically, long story short, what a sell through is one. If you've got 100 items listed, not you particularly, but if you've got 100 items of one particular item, and I always use Skylanders, right? Just say if there's 100 of one particular Skylander, then you go to the sold listings to see how many you've sold, and 30 have sold over the last 90 days. That's a 30% sell-through rate. So what Blake was saying is that he's happy with a 40 or 50% sell-through rate. So half of that certain character will sell through in that 90 days. And like he said, that and if it's got quite a low sell-through rate, I agree with what Blake was saying, is that you want to lower yourself to the bottom of the spectrum so you can fall into that category where it sells. A lot of people, and I was watching, I want to say Josh Galt, but I don't think it was Josh, but they're looking for about 100 or 90% sell-through rate. It might have been J Flips. J Rod Flips, what's his name?
He does 80 at the minimum.
So and that's something I suppose. And I want to get your buy-in as well, and Blake as well, Leanne. I suppose if you're a brand new reseller, and obviously you just watched the Aussie Flippers welcome to eBay video that he puts out every year, and you thought, well, this is for me. It's quite easy, and I can do it from that perspective. I would personally, as a new reseller that's got a full-time job and that's not relying on this full-time, I'd probably look at that 80+%. So you're wanting to make sure in that product, that product moves within the 90-day period.
Yeah, and that's one thing we should mention, that when people are talking about sell-through, they're always talking about it in regards to how quick, what the percentage is that sells over 90 days, because that's the figures that come up with eBay what they're showing you is what's there in 90 days.
Yeah, and I think it really, Leanne hit the nail on the head, right? Like, it's not really applicable to everyone. That if I was if I was coaching, or a brand new reseller that came up to me and asked me what I suggest that they start looking at. Video games would probably be a quick one, just to get some feedback up. Quite a quick sell-through rate. But like what Leanne was saying, is because she's a specialist in the vintage book category, there is no way on this earth that I would, suggest to a brand new reseller, hey, look, go get some vintage books, because, Leanne can command top dollar for these books, but they might be sitting around for 6 to 8, 12 months because they're so rare. They mainly come up once or twice a year. And then you have to wait for that specific buyer that's actually looking for it. And they're happy to pay the prices, that Leanne commands, but they're just waiting around for a very long time. And if you have got that limited cash flow and that limited capital, you're better investing it into certain things like, cheaper video games that have, don't go buying sports video games, don't go buying, the Call of Duty ones for the PlayStation 2. You want to be looking for PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5 games and try and flip them from that perspective. But I suppose, Blake, what would you suggest? Like you said, 50% sell-through rate, but for a brand new seller, would you go higher? Or?
No, sort of 40-50% is my minimum for my business. But for a new seller, if they're starting out, I'd honestly say 100% I'd be aiming for. Like, I know that's the most generic advice going around, but there's a reason for it. Like, it's good. It's important to, like you say, get your feedback up. You can, get a sales history, get yourself around how to actually use the platform. Because if you lower yourself down to 60%, even the amount of items you can get is a lot more, and you'll very quickly get overwhelmed. And then you'll realize that not much is selling because you're spending a certain amount. You're only starting. You don't have that cash flow going, so you're going to price yourself probably at the top to the middle of it, and it might never sell. So because I do have that cash flow going, I'm able to actually put myself towards the bottom of that and have a more likely chance of it selling. But for a new seller, I'd definitely recommend probably 80 at the minimum, but I'd be aiming for 100% on pretty much everything.
And the thing for me is, when we're talking about new sellers too, is that you should be front loading your knowledge on this. So if you are going out, find out the things that you can sell. like go around, have a look at the op shops around you if you're going to go thrifting, and get an idea of the types of brands that sell, and then come back and find out what the sell-through rates are on those things before you go out and buy them, because then you're not going to waste your money, because that's one of the things. You need to get a bit of cash flow happening, but you also need to know in advance what are the things that you're going to be looking for. And either that, or you stand in the op shop and actually check them as you go, which, you know, can make it take a long time, but it's worthwhile when you're first starting out, because you don't want things that are going to sit there for 12 months.
Yeah. And I think that, you know, as much as, like, even now I hate whipping out my phone, because, you know, I normally draw a fair bit of attention being an 8-foot handsome octopus sitting in the middle of a thrift store and op shop, you know, let alone whipping out my phone and, you know, trying to work out what it is. But I am in the market for another 7 phones, so I can do 7 comps at once. So if anyone is selling phones, please reach out to the Octopus. But I agree with Leanne. Like, realistically, whilst, you know, some places have a stigma for you checking, you know, prices in the store, they'll get over it. Like, they probably don't. They probably are aware, because, like I said numerous times, I've walked into thrift stores in the last week, and I can pretty much pick out the brand new resellers, because they pretty much walk from rack to rack and not really looking at everything, because in essence, they're looking for the bolos, right? Yeah, they're basically being told that, you know, you need to look out for this or you need to look out for that, and that's what they're gravitating towards. Just, you know, instead of looking at, you know, solely the DVDs or solely the video games or solely the toys or something along lines of that, they're frantically, you know, flying around the shops and all those different things, which in itself is another pitfall, because I think, which, you know, it ties into sell-through, so I'll roll with it. But what I find is that people, you know, go to the thrift store and they freak out because they haven't found anything, so they'll start grabbing things. Then, or alternatively, that they don't want to check the prices in the thrift store, they'll grab it because it looks fantastic, and they'll take it home and it sells for probably a quarter of what they sold. Especially if you bought it from Vinnie's. Yeah, shout out to Vinnie's.
Shout out to Vinnie's.
Yes, but I think it's quite an important step to make sure that you know what you're doing. And like what Granny was saying, front load on, even if you do things around the house, you know, like what we're talking about in my short earlier was that I'm going to use Google Lens to, you know, kind of do the little bit of a short and show you how to do the process from go to woe. You know, work out how to do the sell-through rate before you even leave the house, because then you know exactly what you're doing. You're not trying to fluster yourself when you're at the thrift store, you know, trying to work out what's going on from that perspective. So, and
especially, like, if you're someone that's going to decide to go down the clothing route, like, I think you can easily do that just by going through your own wardrobe, because you know the brands that you like, you know the brands that you would gravitate towards. You also know the brands that you would buy if you had more money than what you normally spend on clothes. Like, I have brands that I buy, but then there's also, if I had unlimited funds, there are other brands that I would buy if I had unlimited funds that I don't. So you've got an idea already of the stuff that you would like to buy for yourself. So you can start front-loading your knowledge just by searching up those things and finding out from those things, you know, like, and as another example, like, you know, I wouldn't spend as much money on an article of clothing, but then when it comes to like a wallet or a handbag that I'm going to actually have for a long time, I'm quite happy to pay a lot more money because I know that I'm going to have that for a long time. And, you know, like, I recently bought a beautiful Guess backpack for me for when I go thrifting, and I can put all my camera gear in the back of it. And
so when you go to the school.
And yeah, you know, it was quite expensive, but I didn't mind paying that because I'll have that for many years. Whereas a shirt I would only have for 12 months. So, but you know, you can check up those brands and see what they are doing.
And I suppose. Yeah, sorry, Blake.
Yeah, well, if you're speaking about like front load your knowledge too, you don't even need to have anything at home or whatever. It could be as simple as like, I'll use clothing as an example, but you could do it with anything. Like, for example, you want to learn about jeans. Type into the eBay search women's jeans or men's jeans. Go to what's sold and make note of those repeat things that are repeating. That's what I did when I first learned, and then I looked up those brands individually, and that was able to create a bit of a short list without even leaving the house or having any of those items. So if there's a category you're looking into possibly selling, just do a basic search and you'll see some repetition, and there's a good chance that some of that stuff might actually be worth something.
So I'm going to be... Keep going, Granny, because I'm going to say,
when you're doing... when you're doing that search, if you actually go to the left-hand menu where all the little click boxes and stuff are, and you actually go down the bottom and go see more for the filters and go into there and go to brands, you can actually see all the brands that are within that category, and you can see the ones in there that have got large bulk numbers that have sold. So they're the ones. And my other little tip for that is that when you see those ones, don't just look at it like that. Get a bit of paper and a pen and actually write it down, because it does. If you actually write it down physically with a pen on a piece of paper, even if you throw it out later, that will actually stick in your brain better than you just reading it on the screen. It's well-known fact.
And I suppose I was going to change the subject here, but we're going to be a little bit controversial because, what's the use of being a
of course you love being controversial.
That's exactly right. But, what I find is that humans like being told what to look for, especially if they're brand new. And, I want to get your, basically your consensus on both of these is that don't get clothes and don't get books from the get-go, because you won't know what you're looking for. 100%. Clothes have a notoriously low sell-through rate. So if you're watching certain big YouTubers or certain big eBay sellers in the US, they're saying, hey, look, I sell $5 million worth of clothes. They've been doing it for a very, very, very long time. They haven't got a brand new account that has no sales history. So, you're going into a flooded market with no... everyone's got like a boat and you're paddling around with your hands. So I think that's probably the best way to put it. You've got literally no thing. And books are the same. Like I think from my stance as a very cranky octopus that I am, is that if you go into a thrift store and 90% of it's clothes or 90% of it's DVDs or whatever they specialize in, there's a good chance that's oversaturated because it's so plentiful, right? Like, you walk into a thrift store, and, you almost want to look at the things that aren't as plentiful. Like video games or, plush if you're that way inclined. Like Granny was saying, is do you research before you leave? But I think with clothes, not so much books, but clothes definitely, is that when I first started moving into clothes, because, I got swept up with the whole clothing movement because, clothes are easy, clothes are accessible, clothes are everywhere, blah, 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 blah. I found that I was picking up jeans because, like, I need 4 pairs of jeans to walk around. But what it is that, I was picking up jeans. I didn't know the brands because I just did research, very limited research, or didn't do the comps comparably as well as I should have. And B, that I was picking up stuff that I was just giving a quick glance over and wasn't realizing it had holes in it and all these different things. But so these are the things that I strongly advise you not to go down. Is your first adventure. Like I said, that as much as I hate saying video games or, I won't say DVDs because DVDs are trash. But video games, like if you look at PlayStation 4 and your Wii games, your Wii U games, your Switch games, like that, they all generically have a very high sell-through rate. So you can't really go wrong if you buy them cheap. Just make sure they work, make sure they're not scratched, make sure they're repairable, right? The clothes, once, like we were talking about the other day, and I think Blake mentioned in the previous podcast, is that if it's got a hole in it, its value probably drops about 90% unless it's a very unique shirt or like a concert tee and all these different things. So
there are the odd brands that, like, even if it's nearly shredded, you can still buy it and get a good price for it. But that is rare. In the sort of apparel, area, I'd be tending, if I was new and starting out again and knowing what I know now, I would actually be gravitating towards things like vintage leather handbags and vintage leather belts, because I know that they sell. I just can't get enough of them to have a consistent, stock of them. But they do actually sell really, really quite well, those sort of things.
Yeah. And what about you, Blake? I know you sell clothing primarily, but you've had a bit of sales history. So, yours is a bit different situation. Well,
that's the thing. Like, I didn't start with clothes. I didn't pick up an item of clothing when I started. I was in everything sell like everything else, but I was doing that whole going around trying to find what I can that had a decent sell-through rate. The first thing I actually sort of niched down into was DVDs, but they were better back then. And then I went into clothing from there, but I started out doing, all sorts of different stuff. I did your video players and your knickknacks and all that kind of thing like that. And like so it wasn't until sort of a month or 2 months before I decided I was going to double down and go full time, was that I really pretty much niched down into clothing. And even then I still did DVDs and all that kind of thing. But like like I say, yeah, I 100% agree that, you know, clothing and books are probably the worst categories to start out on, because they take a lot of time, and people think they're easy because there's so much of it, but that actually makes it more difficult.
Yeah, it does.
And I think that it's and I say it a fair bit, like people romanticize about stuff like, because their favorite YouTubers are the YouTubers that they find on YouTube, coincidentally enough, sell books or sell DVDs or sell clothes and all those different things. And I think they're trying to emulate that person because they respect that person, which is nothing wrong with that. They're emulating that person. They respect them. Potentially they become a bit of a,
fanboy.
I won't say cult, but they fall into that category where this person, whatever they say, that they look for those different things. And I'm not putting any YouTubers specifically, but what happens is that even I myself, like speaking about things, that you get people follow, go, oh yeah, the octopus said this, and it's like, well, I always prefix it with don't take any of my advice because it's not necessarily correct.
Saying that,
not gospel.
And saying that, like, how many times do you, when you're making an example on the podcast, you're always talking about 90% of the time you mention Funko Pops. Well, we know Funko Pops are dying, so don't take any notes.
Well, that's right. Like, I suppose, we'll prefix it with any category has, things that are, stand out. Funko Pops are no different. Clothing's no different. DVDs are no different. All those different things. But unless you know specifically what you're looking for, unless you're a collector and you know the value of things, just don't be someone that works 9 to 5 at a nursing home or at Hungry Jack's or wherever the hell you want to work. You go, hey, I'll just do some reselling and I'll just go buy a boatload of clothes or a boatload of books, because you're going to go pretty much go up pretty quickly. So
and I will make the point too that you have to be relevant to what you can get in your area, because you don't want to be traveling all over the place and spending heaps of money on fuel or gas to get to places to buy stuff. You need to, try and source as locally as you can when you're first starting. So it's got to be relevant to what you can get. So, I mean, I watch a lot of the, the Aussies, and you look at Judder and which is Diary of a Flipper, and all the, wonderful toys and figures he gets. Yes. But I just don't, they don't come up in my area. I mean, I get the odd one or two, but unless the only ones of those predominantly that I've picked up are when I've gone to a bigger shopping place, which, a few hours away, because I'm there for some other reason and I can get stuff like that then. But in general, I can't get those around here. So it's no point me going down that route and doing a lot of research and getting a lot of knowledge in that area, because I can't get them.
And the amount of, that's the thing too, it's not necessarily just local stuff, but the people that you watch on the internet, like Judder or even myself and other people, you might see these people getting all this different stock, but that's years of building connections, forming relationships. When you start out, you're not going to have that stuff. You're not going to have the means to get the amount of stuff that most people online get. And, they're not just going to come out and say, oh yeah, I bought this from here, because that's, they've spent ages forming those relationships, and they're not just going to give it away. So you're already not necessarily at a disadvantage, but you can't just be like, oh yeah, this person sells this, so I'm going to sell this, because it's most likely going to be a lot harder.
Yeah, so I suppose I'm going to go a little bit against the grain, right? So a lot of the people that I particularly watch, and I've seen over the last couple of weeks, they're all saying, hey, look, start at your house, which I fully agree with. Obviously, if you're looking at starting a reselling business or doing it, dabbling it as a hobby, look around your house and all these different things, because you've obviously bought that item for a reason, right? So it has some sort of value. You're not just buying junk. All those different things. Once you've gone through that, I would strongly suggest you do not walk into a thrift shop or an op shop at all. All right. So this is going to be a bit controversial. Start doing like what Granny was saying. So I agree with what Granny says. Source what you can, but think outside the box, right? So what you want to do is just say hypothetically, we'll go back to Funko Pops. If you know Funko Pops well enough, start researching the category back to front. Spend maybe a weekend researching it so you've got a bit of knowledge. Start sourcing online. Have the product come to you. Just don't be limited to buy what's available in your location. Like I said, you can't get... if you're buying it online or arranging for bulk lots to come to you, I suppose you're kind of limited by your capital straight off the bat. But
you're cherry
picking.
The thing. You can't. I think your idea is good, but I think you do have to probably if you're going to start with the same, your own money from stuff that you've sold around the house, you're probably going to have to go to some thrift stores to get a little bit more stock to build up a little bit of capital to start doing what you're talking about.
Oh yeah, and I suppose I suppose not so much. Like Granny, she's where she is in Amish country, she's a bit harder. But Blake to a lesser degree, and myself, we've got Facebook Marketplace, right? So Facebook Marketplace is pretty much Granny probably has tractors and horses and buggies listed on hers. Where Blake and I probably have. So Blake and I might have more of a thing. So what I suppose what I'm getting at is that, if you look at Facebook Marketplace, you look at eBay, you look at all these different sourcing websites. I'm not saying buy in bulk by any means, but if you go on Facebook Marketplace, you can always cherry pick the 100% sell-through rate items, right? Like you need to be quick. I'm not disputing that, but if you have a knowledge of that, you see like someone selling a bunch of PlayStation 4 games for $1 each or $2 each or something along that. Go pick them up, sell through them. Go all like that. Do all these different things. Just don't go to thrift stores. Where you have no idea where things are and you don't know what's going on, or you're not comfortable in that environment. You're going to be overwhelmed. You're going to grab stuff that it's not going to sell. Then you're going to be, 3 months down the track, you're not going to be here. I can guarantee you that.
Yeah. I will. Talking of thrift stores, there is one thing I want to say. It is okay to walk out without buying anything. Or if you feel that you have to because it is a thrift store and, for a charity, and you feel like you have to, just go and buy one little thing. Don't buy a heap of stuff because you feel you have to. Buy one little thing just because you're making a donation, or just walk out. You don't have to buy anything.
Yeah, so I suppose what I've been doing in my local salvos, I've come to a negotiation with what Granny does, that because I did have a problem where I had to walk out with something because I felt like I was obligated to. But what I do now is that if I don't find anything, I just go to the counter and give them $5. So if someone does come in that's short, or that they're disadvantaged or something along those lines, that goes towards $5 for their bills. So that's what I do. It makes me feel a little bit better about myself. But if that plays out how I expect it to, I don't know, because I'm obviously not there to follow up to see what they're doing. But like I said, that's pretty much how I get around that.
What about you, Blake? Do you walk out of the thrift stores without buying anything?
I do. Yeah, I do. Just so that I don't get yelled at on the internet for stealing from the poor. But I do. But I usually find something. If I get into that point, then I'll go around and I will start looking at the homewares and stuff just for different stuff that I need for myself. But if I go into a place that it's egregiously overpriced, I've got no issues walking out. Mm-hmm. Or if there's literally nothing there that I need and it's the exact same stuff that was there last time I was there, then I'll just walk out. I'll give the cashier a smile and I'll see you later, and then I'll just run away. Tail between my legs. But you don't have to buy anything. Don't waste your money.
Yeah,
no, that's right. Yeah, and it's something like I said, it's always. Because I have a retail background when I first started, so it was always, I suppose drilled into me from the start kind of thing that, it's just a really weird octopus way of doing things, I suppose. But like Granny was saying, and Blake was saying as well, you don't feel obligated to buy anything on the way out. But
do also realise that one thing with op shops and thrift stores is that they actually do have sales too. Like some of them will actually have racks with stuff on it that they're putting discounting, or bins that they're discounting, or a particular category that they're discounting at different times. And a lot of them will actually have coloured, like I know a lot of mine do it, where they have coloured codes, tags on the codes. So, like there might be 4 different colours. So you've got red, green, blue and yellow. And then each week, one of those colours will be half price. And so... it's always worthwhile looking at those sorts of things too, rather than, looking at everything.
Yeah. But I suppose, Blake, if you were walking to a thrift store now, what would you go to? What would you gravitate to straight off the bat?
Like if I was brand new, or
no, just
now or the clothes, button up shirts in case I find another Mambo loud. But. Yeah, I just go straight to the clothes. But it depends on this place, because I have delved a lot more into shoes lately. So whenever I go into a store like Savers that have a lot of that, I do make it straight for that. Because that stuff there's more margin for me once I've cleaned them up a little if I need it. So I will go to the shoes first these days.
What about you, Granny?
I would generally go, if I'm on my own, I would go to the books first. Yes, generally, and then I'd go to jeans. Would be my next little port of call. But I will say, I would go to the books, but generally the toys are next to the books anyway. So I would go to the books, and then on my way to the jeans, I would scan through all the toys because, you never know your luck. You might find a nice vintage doll or a little figure of some sort or a squishmallow or something, you never know.
Yeah, so I suppose I'm kind of like a little bit like Blake and a little bit like Granny. So I'll probably go straight to the shirts straight up because a lot of the places that I source from have a connection with quite a big Australian sporting organisation. So I get a lot of player issue clothes come through quite often. So I'll definitely check there first. Then I'll slither over to the jeans and have a quick squiz there before going to the toy section as well. But I don't spend hours and hours and hours just looking at every section and seeing if there's value in anything because it really comes. And something that I have noticed as well is that brand new resellers, they're probably looking for $1 or $2 profit or something along the lines of this. They're not looking for a bigger scale because these are and I fell into this thing as well, is that you need to set your habits. You need to set good habits now. And do you agree with that, Granny? Like you don't want to be shortcutting now and do all the different things. What about you?
Yes.
I know you have good habits.
Yeah.
No, get yourself in, start off right. Don't get yourself in the bad habits because they're very hard to break once you
get
into them.
Yeah, so realistically, like I said, the DVDs and all those different things, the majority of them, you pay $1 for them, they're probably going to sell for $3 or $4 plus postage. You're not really raking in much money, and because the category is becoming more and more saturated, people are promoting probably up to 10 to 15% just to clear out their DVD stock and all those different things. So if they're an established store with lots of feedback and a lot of good metrics and all these different things that play into consideration, and they're promoting on top of that, your DVD is probably not going to get a look in. It's probably going to be on the last page, so you're never going to sell it. So like what Blake was saying is that when looking at the sell-through rate, you almost want to look at the feedback of the people selling it as well. Like if they've got 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 feedback, you're needing to probably not undercut them severely, but you need to probably be a couple of dollars cheaper than them to get that interest, especially if you've got feedback under a 50 or something like that. I think
because it is. I mean,
get it moving.
Yeah, once you get to a certain point, feedback's not quite so important. But in that, when you're first starting, it is because people want to know that you are reputable, and you need to get that, get that first 100 feedback at least. I think to get yourself going.
And I think that it goes into sell-through rate as well. And a lot of people don't mention this. Is that I think personally, and like what I was just saying then, is you need to look at it from a different perspective, right? So just hypothetically, we'll go back to Funko Pops. That a specific Funko Pop sells for $50, but that the person selling that Funko Pop offers free postage, they offer free returns, they got a 30-day return policy, all these different things that come into it. And what I find is a lot of resellers, especially in Facebook, and there's one particular I want to get to in a minute. Granny knows who this is. That basically I'm not accepting returns, and I'm not doing free postage, and and I'm charging plus postage. So they're going, well, that's selling for $50. I'll mark it as $49.99 plus $10.80 postage, and no returns. And the product probably has photos that are far from professional looking, all these different things. These are the things
they could do with a bit of improvement, shall we say?
Well, that's right. Yeah, by all means, check out Granny's and Blake's channels to see how to take photos properly. But what it comes down to is these are the things you're competing with. You're almost competing against, like very large organisations. Not as large as your supermarkets or your department stores, but from an eBay perspective, these are large, stores that you're competing with, and you almost need to be better than them. You need to do free returns. You need to do free postage and all these different things to become competitive. Because, if hypothetically Blake was selling a Funko Pop at $50 with free postage with 30 days free returns, I'd be looking at 40 if it's got an 80% sell through rate just to get through and get that algorithm moving. Because you can't compete with him. And a lot of brand new resellers, I don't know where they get it from, because a lot of the YouTubers I watch saying, hey, look, I do free returns, I do free postage and all these different things. Well, they use their postage model that's comparable to what the market dictates, right? But it doesn't translate to new resellers for some reason. But if you've got, and I was watching Flipping Out Easy the other day, and he was basically saying that if you don't offer free returns, it's not as if you you don't have faith in your product. You're not endorsing your product. You know, you're
got
kind
no
of like
confidence in
saying,
it.
well, and that's right. And you know, and I hear it just as much as well. eBay will not cover you. Like, there's no such thing as no returns on eBay. Like, you know, that. Yeah, if I buy something off Granny and you know, she doesn't accept returns, then I turn around and say, "Hey, look, it's not item not as described, or you know, it's not as good as I was expecting, or anything like that." Guess what, Granny? You're taking that return, regardless if you like it or not.
Exactly.
So,
it's going to happen, and you're going to get that person that is going to, rather than contact you directly and say, you know, there's something wrong with it, or it's not quite right, or it doesn't fit, or you know, it was a different color blue to what I thought it was. You know, if you accept free returns, the buyer's more likely to actually contact you directly, in which case you can then organise, you know, them to return it and everything, sort of do it all and have them choose a nice answer for why they want to return it, as opposed to going through and saying item not as described, which is a ding on your account and something that you do not want to have. And when we're talking item not as described, I'll very quickly say there is a terminology, another one, that you'll often hear, and it's INAD. And that's what we're talking about, an item not as described, which is like, so for example, I order the top back here that's got sparkles in it, something. So in the photos, maybe that looks grey because I didn't know how to do photos. And so in the photos, it looks grey. They get it thinking they're getting a grey top with sparkles in it, but it's actually black. And they can then put in a return to you and say that it's an item not as described. And if you get that, it's a ding on your account.
And that's only if they get to the return process and stuff. They might message you and be like, hey, can I return this? You're like, no, I don't do returns and whatever. Next thing you know, you got a negative feedback on your account because you won't work with the buyer. And then that's just as bad, if not worse, as an INAD. So there's no, you're not going to get away with it. You need to.
Yeah, and I agree. And I think, well, Granny, you know, she's brought up a fantastic point there, is that, yeah, that's probably another reason why you don't want to start off with clothing, because, you know, all your processes are new. We're not expecting you, or nor is anyone expecting you with like zero feedback to know how to take professional photography and how to, you know, set up photo stations with all these different things. You know, and like Granny was saying, you know, if you use the backdrop like I do, as I just use a table, that color might wash out the color of the product or the color of the item. So you need to be very mindful of what you're selling to. You know, like books are a bit different because, you know, I don't think anyone's going to care if it's, that person on the cookbook slightly lighter or slightly darker than what they are in real life. It's just because of the shadows of the book, right? But the clothing, you know, like Granny was saying, if it's grey and it's black and vice versa, you're opening yourself up. And like I said before, and I think I said it in last week's episode, is that you need to be very careful with your account, especially for the first 100 feedback, right? Because like, you know, that's when you really make or break your account. If you just treat it half-assed and you don't really care and you don't answer questions, or like Blake was saying, is that you have really bad customer service. You know, like the amount of, it just shocks me, the amount of people that have bad customer service, right? Like these are the kind of people that walk into a shop and, you know, if the same thing happened to them, they wouldn't shut up about it.
Oh, absolutely.
You'd have pages and pages and pages of complaints on eBay and Google reviews and all these different things.
Even experienced resellers get buyers that send them ridiculous messages. Well, we look at them and we think, oh my God. Like I got one yesterday and it was, is this item still available?
I get that a lot too.
Like, honestly, it's there for sale. It's not available. And yeah, I mean, but I don't answer back in a smart way. Like I'm thinking, you know, you got to be nice and polite and say, yes, it is available. And
and I think it's a lot, you got to detach it from reality, right? Like they're not having a go at you specifically, you know, just kind of like right back. And if you're prone to anger, or you're prone to, you know, running your mouth off all these different things, it's like, yes it is, or, you know, something like very generic, very short to the point. And then, like we said previously, if they ask 116,000 questions, block them. There's nothing wrong with blocking people.
Something wrong with that. And you will quite often get even questions like silly, like some of the, I mean, we all get these, like, what are the measurements? Well, look a bit, scroll down a couple more photos and you'll actually see the measurements in the photos. And that quite often, look, some people will only look at the first couple of photos, maybe not even go past the first photo. And because you haven't got the measurements written in your description, they'll message you and say, what are the measurements? Well, the measurements are there. But again, I don't answer back in a smart way and say, oh, you know, look at photo 3, the measurements are there. I will generally send them a copy of that photo, of the photos with the measurements in it, and say, yep, the measurements are there in the photos, and here they are again for you to make it a bit easier, blah, 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 blah. And I always start, when someone sends me a query, the first thing I write is thanks for reaching out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Regardless of what the message is.
Well, that's right. I'm the same.
Yeah, I'm a polite person too, even though every time I hear that notification sound go that I get a message, I'm like, oh, my life's over. Like, someone's going to go. But I always answer back nicely and stuff like that. And, like, even if they are completely in the wrong, like, I had people, these shorts aren't brand new. I received them not brand new when they were clearly, they've got marks on them, they're pre-owned, they're listed as pre-owned. Like, hi, yeah, as per listing, they are a pre-owned pair of shorts. I'm more than happy to take back a return and give you a full refund if you so choose. And, and you just got to be polite. And like I've touched on in previous episodes, is they don't necessarily, like a lot of people don't know that you're just a seller. You are eBay. That's the thing. You are eBay. Right. So, a lot of people are going to speak to you as if you are, a major corporation that's a machine and doesn't have feelings. So you are going to get rude people. You are going to get mean people. And if that's the case, just be as nice as you can. And if you haven't sold them the item yet, then block them.
That's right. And I think what Blake and Granny were saying as well is that, you don't have to roll over and take it, take the abuse and all those different things. So if someone is abusive in a message, or they are all those different things, like my go-to thing is like Granny, it's like, thanks for reaching out. I'm sorry that, the item hasn't, met your expectations. Please, click the return, and once the return comes back, I'll arrange a full refund. I'll arrange a refund. I wouldn't say necessarily say a full refund, because if you've sold them just say a Funko Pop in brand new in box or something like that, and you get the return back and it's all torn to shreds, and they've opened it up or they've broken the Funko Pop, you actually can, I suppose, potentially like lessen their refund, so you'd have to give them the full refund back. I think you're limited to about 50% of the refund.
50%,
and eBay will cover you those, but that's only in certain situations, right? So, this is what we're saying is that's what we'll keep harping on about, is that you need your account health is quite. It's the biggest thing of
so
every reseller, because I think sell through rate. I suppose from the hierarchy, from my perspective, and I'll get Blake and Granny's opinions in a second, sell through, then account health is the biggest things that I look for, especially for a brand new reseller, is that, and I don't think a lot of people talk about that. They say, hey, look, I'll go to a thrift store and I'll pick this up and I'll sell it for X amount of dollars and all those different things. Where people should be coached on account health, sending you things on times, make sure you got clear photos and all these different things that come into play with those as well. So, because
I can guarantee you, each of us, and correct me if I'm wrong, boys, but there would be a time when you've woken up and you've gone out and you've checked your store and you're looking at, say maybe how much traffic you're getting through your store, and it seems slow. And what's the first thing you are going to do? Why am I not getting any sales today? And then you look, and you look down and check to see if you have an INAD or a return, or some of your service metrics have gone up, which means you've got some dings for late postage, because that the way your store is reacting, that there's something wrong, and you just don't want that. I mean, sometimes it's unavoidable, of course, but most of the time it is avoidable.
I do that. When the first thing I do when I get up in the morning, before I even check what I sold or anything, I just quickly whip over to my feedback and just make sure I got nothing I need to get onto straight away. Because it's just, like you say, it is that thing. Like, I get onto returns, messages, feedback, all that sort of stuff is my number one priority, and then I'll look on to what offers I've got or what I've sold and stuff like that, and then I'll go on to doing how much I'm going to list for the day. So it's it's a hierarchy thing for me. My account health and the customers that I've got, potential customers or customers that I've got, are more important than my future customers from the items that I'm gonna list up that day. So you got to look after what you got first and foremost.
They're the ones that can do the most damage, put it that way.
Very true. That's very true.
And I suppose we'll
and you should. The one other thing with the account health is make sure you get on and answer messages straight away. Now, as an example, if you can't give them the answer that they're asking for straight away, still respond straight away. Like, there are times when I got caught the other day. I got a message asking me for something like to check something on an item, but I couldn't do it because I was at the post office. So I just messaged them straight back and said, look, I'm just out of the office at the moment. As soon as I get back, I'll send you through the answer. So it's always okay to do that, but reach out straight away, answer those messages.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Christmas Day.
Yeah, I was going to say, well, I've already worked out Blake's answer, but how do you feel about doing that outside of hours or on the weekend?
Always.
Just
I don't care.
Yeah. So I'm the same. That
I don't do it when I'm sleeping.
Yeah, no, that's right. That's a valid point. But there was talk last year that, especially in the US and the UK, that eBay was, putting on metric timers for people. So they'd say, well, look, the Octopus would typically respond within an hour, or they're typically responding within 5 hours, and all those different things. So we haven't seen that in Australia yet. Hopefully it doesn't come out. But I suppose another one of my resolutions for this year is to not be so tied to eBay. Like I said, that if I'm having a slow day, I'll probably respond and all those different things. But I don't want to create an expectation to eBay that 3 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon, I'll just drop everything and respond to someone for a very trivial question, all those different things. But
I think even on the weekends and that though, like I think still for me, even if I was say having a day off, there would be a time over 24 hours that I'm going to be able to check. So I generally speaking, 99% of the time I'm going to get back to someone within 24 hours, I think.
Well, that's right. I think 24 hours is probably a good expectation, right? But like I said, I've got a nasty habit of literally dropping everything and answering back straight away. And like I said, that this year, that as much as we said last week, is that what I find is that eBay approaches on a lot of what I do. So I cut out family time and all these different things where I focus solely on eBay and all these different things. So I kind of slide that back a little bit and be more, I suppose, more productive and more efficient with my time, so I can do all those different things. Then have an expectation for the customers that I will get back to them within 12 hours or 24 hours, maybe like 12 hours through the week and 24 hours on the weekend or something like that. But I'm not literally waiting on bated breath and I was listening to the reseller locker room podcast this morning when I was driving around doing something, and they're actually saying that I lost my train of thought, but they'll come to me. This is what happens when you go to be an old octopus. But basically what it is that I don't want to be having that expectation for people to, that's what it was. See, this is what happens, but you get Alzheimer's and you fall off the train. But you're corresponding with this one customer and they'll ask you 101 different questions, but the sale doesn't get through. Like, they'll just keep asking you a question. You're like, well, all these questions are going to lead somewhere, and they'll just ghost you. It's like Facebook Marketplace when, someone asks you if it's available and you say, yes, it is, and you never hear from them again. They just disappear into the ether. And these are the things you've got to be mindful of. Is you don't necessarily want to be cutting family time short or quality time short, or self-care time short, because you're dealing with this person that wants to know what the inseam of a jeans leg is or something like that, and then they'll ask you what the material is and all these different things that are already in your listing. Then it never eventuates or never goes anywhere from there. So this is what you got to be careful of when you do things as well. So,
they're the people that are just annoying.
Well, that's right. Yeah. I suppose that, like I said, we normally give them a couple of goes. Me personally, I give them about 3 questions before they start to irritate me to the block list. But like I said, if they're abusive or from the get go, or they're I bought this off Grumpy Granny and it was crap, I'm coming to you now, something along the lines of that, I'll block them straight away. Obviously, if another seller's had a problem with them. There's a reason why they've come to me.
And by 3 questions, that, and look, generally speaking, it's going to be on something that you're selling for $20, $25 too, or even under $20. Like, it's not going to be something that you sell. Like, if someone wants to ask me 50 questions on the item that I'm selling for $955, go for it. I'll answer as many questions as you like. And because it's a very special antique book, I would sit there and, I know that that's possibly a collector. And I would check their account health. And as long as they haven't got a heap of negative feedback, I would actually answer their questions in that case.
Right.
Yeah. I got the same limit as you, Octo. I'm 3 and I'm out. But like, I had one the other day where I got a pair of just a pair of Nike shorts. It's $20 I had them listed for, and it's missing the drawstring. They're from the 90s and that sort of thing. I'm missing the drawstring, and I've got that in the second photo and in the description and in the condition description. The person messaged me, is this missing the drawstring? And I said, hi there, yes it is. And they've just gone, ugh, with a rolly eye emoji. And I'm like, straight away, I'm like, I'm just going to block you, dickhead. So I'm like, I don't need the attitude. Like, I don't want to deal with you anyway.
And I'm going to try something brand new this episode, Granny. I'm going to try and roll it around full circle to what we were talking about before. And this is quite new for us. New Octopus, new me kind of thing. But the thing is, though, but like going back to answering questions within a timely fashion, or like that 3-question thing, is that if you're buying products that have 100% sell through, that one buyer is not what you're relying on, right? So you can have a day off, you can have 2 days off and not answer silly questions, because if it's 100% sell through in 90 days, guess what? There's a good chance that your item's going to sell, and there's a higher rate than 100% as well. Like some things might have a 300-400% sell through. There might be like 3 things listed and 30 sold in over the course of 90 days. So they're the ones you want to be looking out for. And like I said, if you're having a person that's asking 116 questions, and this item does have a sell-through rate of 280% or something along the lines of that, you don't have to drop everything and answer it straight away. That item will eventually sell. You mightn't be today, it could be tomorrow. All these different things, but another person will come up and buy it. So
for sure, always
for that. All right. So before we wrap up, Granny, what's your podcast of the week?
Oh, podcast of the week.
Blake's packing his pants. Look at him. He's like, oh shit, he's going to ask me next.
Oh, that's funny. So I've actually I'll just get her name. I've been listening to a crime doing a little bit of listening to a particular crime. Crime podcast is what I'm actually trying to say in there. And it's very good. I'm quite enjoying it. And there's a lot of shorts is the only thing, because she's often giving up-to-date latest news on, so it's Annie Elise 10 to Life. And so it's on YouTube, and I mean, there is a audio version on the other ways that you get podcasts as well. And, but yeah, everything. And she has some particular, like she does a serial killer, sort of the episode type thing every week, and she does deep dives into crimes that have happened in the past, but she also keeps abreast of any new developing stories as well.
Oh, good. And what about you, Blake? Do you remember that one that you told me about earlier in the week?
What? Did I tell you about one?
Yeah, you did actually. So there's a podcast that Blake mentioned to me earlier in the week. It's called Serial. It's like I think it was a 10-part series. The first season, they're basically going to a crime that happened in like a really small town in America about a couple, the boyfriend's pretty much accused of killing his girlfriend and dumping her body. But the way that it was done is very investigatory, that this person reenacts what the police alleged and all these different things, and couldn't replicate what she was accusing the boyfriend of, or that they were accusing the boyfriend of. So it's one of those questions. It's almost like Making a Murderer kind of on Netflix, all these different things where they break it down and kind of say, hey, look, is this person really guilty of the crime he said? So Blake was quite impressed by that. He mentioned it earlier in the week, so I'm surprised he forgot about that.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. My podcast of the week is actually a reselling one because I'm boring, and it is the In the Loop podcast with Dealing with Dalton and Ethan Banks. Those two, I really like selling shoes, and I'm doing more of it now, so I find them very interesting. They're probably two of the bigger shoe resellers out there, so I do learn a lot from them. So there's definitely one that I do recommend, and they're fun too. They're fun. They barely ever talk about reselling, but they're good to listen to.
I think we're the only reselling podcast I've come from that actually talks about reselling, I think, other than John and Josh.
John and Josh, yeah. Shout out to the eBay Power Hour with Josh Galt and John from Flippin' Ain't Easy, because it is, it's my number one, I'm going to say, and they are fantastic. And if you've got to want to be business minded though, and really sort of diving deep into, if you're not into all the, deep, heavy stuff, don't bother.
Yeah. And I suppose for me personally is that I'm going to go a bit off track this week. I have mentioned previously that I do enjoy like kind of like horror stories and all this, like paranormal and all those different things. Ooh. So my pick of the week is going to be the Hillbilly Horror Stories, which is on Apple iPod and Apple iPod, through that with a podcast and all these different things. Spotify's
you are old.
I know. Look, I turned 88 this year, so I'm quite old. But yeah, so Hillbilly Horror Stories are fantastic. They do a lot of true horror stories, true crime. They do a lot of
watch out, you're starting the
There's the stretch,
yeah.
Yeah, so
Blake's got a towel, boys and girls.
Yeah, so that's exactly right. We've only got 2 minutes left before we're hanging it up. So like I said, they've got horror stories, they've got like true crime, they've got paranormal ghost stories, and all these different things mixed in there. So there's a bit of an eclectic mix.
So what's it called? Hillbilly what?
The Hillbilly Horror Stories.
Right.
Are they like real, or are they just made up stories? Like
no, they're real. Like urban legends, and
right.
and they do a lot of history, like a lot of where Blake comes from, the lunatic asylum. They do a lot of history on those different things, like colleges. It's quite good. Like I said, that probably wouldn't necessarily listen to the first 5 or 10 because they changed tact after that because it's very swearing and very heavy. He brought his wife in. I think I was after about the first 10 episodes, and it's quite a clean family show from there. So definitely recommend that one. If you're into like something a little bit different, you want a bit of ghost stories or something along the lines of that, it's quite good and quite enjoy that.
Sure.
But
can I do a little bit of self promotion?
I was waiting for the weekly self promotion.
Well, she can. She's a channel member.
Just saying. So
3 minutes.
Yeah, well, my exciting news this week is that, and I did mention it on the live, I have actually created a second channel, which is Grumpy Granny Reads, and I've uploaded my first book.
Yeah,
so I did one of Where the Wild Things Are. That's my first book, and uploaded that yesterday. So yeah, it'd be good if people went and had a look. And
yeah, so Granny will send me the link to that, so I can put it in the description, and she'll send it to me straight away, so I don't forget, because I normally download and get it up for our 4 or 5 members that somehow want to part with their cash and donate it to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, that we're going to limit it to an hour just to make it short and snappy and snappy.
Snappy. Is that a
snappy?
So there we go, boys and girls. That's another segment that we're having. Octo's new word of the week, because he generally does come up with a new word every week, and that's snappy. Right. Well, because when we get bigger and everything become monetized and start earning a heap of money, we're going to do giveaways, and to win the giveaway, you're going to have to actually be able to repeat the word that Octo made up the week before.
No, not even repeat the word. Actually, provide a definition for that word.
Yeah, true. Yeah, that'd be good. Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah. So, like I said, this episode was a bit off kilter because we're trying to shorten it down to make sure as much bang for buck as we can get in an hour. But we'll probably get back in. It'll probably take a couple of weeks to get back into the rhythm where we're annoying Granny and making Blake fall asleep like he is always. But anyway, having said that,
I think we've done very well today. I think we provided a lot of good content especially for beginners, and a good refresher for other resellers.
Yeah, so we'll try and get back to regular viewing next week, in the sense that we're not going to cater specifically just to brand new resellers. We'll be going to probably we're trying to do a broad range, especially for the first couple of months of the year, right? Like Brenny was saying, it doesn't hurt to have a refresher, and it doesn't hurt to know some stuff what's going on. By all means, jump into Leanne's Discord, which she will also send me the link for, so I can put it in the description straight away. Check out Life of a Reseller /Blake/other guy.
That's not me. Yeah.
The other guy,
whatever it is, and make sure you check out my very lacklustre shorts.
Is there a YouTube channel called The Other Guy? Maybe
probably. That's right. Well, don't forget to check out my very lacklustre shorts, because I need as much help as I can get. And we'll see you next week. Bye.